Well, with that being said, hi, my name is Caitlin Lamb, and I am a Public Programs and Education Specialist here at the USC Pacific Asia Museum in Pasadena, California. I would like to thank all of you for joining today's program, Workshop at PAM, Sumi-e Inspired Paintings. We are so thrilled to have you here with us today in celebration of Earth Day. Happy Earth Day! Before we begin our program, we would like to pause for a moment of silence to acknowledge that the Pacific Asia Museum is built on the sacred land of the Tongva Nation. During this moment of silence, we remember and honor the Tongva and all Indigenous people. Please take a pause to honor these ancestral grounds and celebrate the resilience and strength that all Indigenous people show worldwide. The USC Pacific Asia Museum would also like to acknowledge the recent events of violence and injustices facing Asian Americans. We stand against the hate being hurled at Asian communities and call for an end to this violence. We urge more people to take action to protect the Asian American community. For more information about how you can support, please visit the link found in the chat box. And I will be putting it. Now it is my pleasure to introduce you to the artist who is leading today's workshop. Yu-Q Nguyen is a multidisciplinary artist and educator based in Los Angeles. Her art workshops and exhibitions have attracted thousands of live participants across Southern California at notable venues such as the USC Pacific Asian Museum, the Autry Southwest Museum, the Audubon Center at Debs Park, and the Orange County Center for Contemporary Art. Just a reminder that if you have any questions during the program, please use the raise hand function that's at the bottom of your bar. Now I'm handing this program off to UQ.
Okay, thank you, Caitlin. And hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Sumi Painting Inspired Workshop. So as Caitlin was saying, you need something to draw with. You need a sheet of paper. I prefer white just because it's easiest to see. And I do apologize if you hear airplane flying by, dog barking. It's the nature of teaching from home at the moment. So let me know if you cannot hear me, by raising your hand or typing in a chat box, and Caitlin will announce to me if I need to repeat something, okay? So usually, and I'm sure you all know, in Sumi paintings, we use black and red, but this is a workshop inspired by traditional Sumi paintings. So I do encourage you to use any color that you would like, but I do say that you should limit yourself to two, like maybe a red and brown, or purple and pink. Limit yourself to two colors and see what that does to your technique in terms of shading and how do you approach drawing landscape. So I would like to start always with this mindful workshop by a breathing exercise. Okay, so I would like you to find a comfortable place for your hands and your feet. So you shouldn't be dangling your feet or like finding where to put your hand. I like to just put my hands on my table, or I can also put it on my thigh, which I also really like. And then find a place for your feet. And during the breathing meditation, you will be breathing to your own count, even though, I might give you some guidance in the beginning, but feel free to continue by your own count. At the end, to take you out of the meditation, I'll give you a light sound. This is a Tibetan singing bowl. I'm not sure if you guys can see it. It's actually from Nepal. So let me see if you guys can hear the sound clearly. Perfect. Right. All right. So let's start with the breathing exercise. So after you found a place for your hands and feet, I would like you to close your eyes. And as you continue breathing normally, see if you can sit up a little straighter. And relax your shoulder, roll your shoulder back. And I want you to just listen to the sound of your own breathing. In and out. Is it deep or is it shallow? Is it short or long? We are only noticing. We're not making any changes. Listen to the sound of your breathing. Now we're going to inhale on a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And exhale on a count of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. And exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And continue with this cycle of inhale and exhale. And each time I challenge you to go a little bit longer, adding an extra count to your exhale. And all the while, listen to your own breathing and feel your own breath. Is it cold? Is it warm, wet, or dry? Where do you begin? Where do you end and the world begin? Imagine a window, and in the distance there's a mountain. I want you to imagine clearly how many peaks does this mountain have. Is there snow on the mountaintop? Or is it spring and you can see the flowers dabble along all the couloirs or the peak and valleys? And now let your breathing resume its normal rhythm. And when you hear the sound of the Tibetan singing bowl, slowly open your eyes. All right. So we're going to begin our session. I'm going to share my screen. It's basically my video, so you can see what I'm doing and follow along. Okay. And you should still be able to see me. Okay. All right, so this is my setup, okay? I'm gonna use pink instead of red, how about that? All right, so while I'm in this mode, I cannot see questions. So if you have a question, raise your hand or type in a chat box and Caitlin will let me know, okay? So now I want you to imagine that this sheet of paper is your window, okay? And remember that I asked you to visualize a mountain. So we're gonna put the mountains on our right-hand side, okay? And the trees on our left-hand side. Now I'm right-handed, okay? So I'm gonna draw from my left to my right, but if you're left-handed, feel free to switch direction, okay? First, we're gonna start at the bottom. Let's have a vase or a container for our bonsai tree, okay? So I would just do a really simple, line across. And this is the vase for my bonsai tree. Simple rectangular. So now, if there is a bonsai tree here, which means we have a windowsill right here, right? Because we're looking out from our windows. So add a little line here with a windowsill and a few squiggly line just to indicate that, oh, maybe there's a wood texture. Okay. And now for the tree. So this is kind of my trick to get the main trunk started. I actually use my hand, okay? So if I want my tree to kind of bend this way, I'll put my wrist on here, okay, so, and then I kind of manipulate my hand and I use it kind of as a guideline to give my tree this very kind of natural shape, okay? And now I'm gonna follow that shape and continue drawing. And about here, I'm gonna give my tree a little stump. Right? And now I can continue. This is where we'll decide how many tiers, right, is our bonsai tree is going to have. So I was thinking one like this, so one tier and two tiers, okay? You don't need to add very much because in the tradition of Sumi-e painting, less truly is more. And you want to draw the essence of the tree and the branches instead of trying to capture down every single branches. So from here, and if you like, you can use your hand to give you a little bit, just a little guidance. And notice that I'm not letting my lines like connected yet because right now we are still at the building foundation, right? We're just putting down the major lines that will make up our tree. All right, so that is my first tier. So now I want another tier, so I'm going to add it. And then a little bit on the side. So now I'm going to start connecting my branches together. And I'm using a brush marker. So, I can kind of vary my line with pressure and get it to be skinny or thick. You can do the same with your normal marker, when you tilt it to the side instead of going from this point. So let me see if I can. So just a demonstration. If you want really skinny line, you hold it really straight. And if you want thicker line, you can lean it on the side. And you can vary your pressure as well. Okay. So that will be important in our next step. Okay. So now naturally, you see that the line on my right side is thicker. So the light is kind of coming in from this side. So I'm going to keep that in mind as I move and fill out my tree, that the line on the left will always be skinnier. And I do encourage you to draw slowly and draw on your exhale. Try it. Inhale, exhale, and practice where you're going to place your pen. Inhale again. And when you exhale, draw your line smoothly and do not stop until you finish it. All right. So now we have the main branches of our tree. And I'd like to add, same thing as what we did with the windowsill. We're going to add some line just to show the texture of the wood. And you just can see I'm varying my pressure, so sometimes it almost disappears. All right. So now we have our main tree branches. Now we can go and add some flower. And for me, I really like a simple approach. I just do a simple, basically C curve. And less is more. I'm just indicating where I want my tree to have flower. And vary your side. It doesn't need to be always like multiple one, just small one. I'm gonna add some roots at the end, or maybe a baby stump. And then I'm gonna close my vase. All right. So let me know if we're good to move on to the mountains. I just need a few thumbs up, maybe a quick type in the chat box.
Please let us know in the chat box if you're all ready and you're ready to move on to the next. Great, we have Linda, Charlotte, awesome.
Okay.
All right, I think we can move on to the next one.
Great. So before we move on, I'd like you to take a look at your tree and give yourself a mental pat on the back, or just give yourself a pat on the back. Enjoy that you just sat down and basically brought to life this tree, from your mind. And same with the tree, right? We're going to draw the mountains. And the same thing, inhale and practice the line. And when you're ready to draw it, inhale again and exhale and draw that line. So I don't know how many peaks does your mountains have, okay? So I'm gonna, to keep it simple, mine will only have 2 peaks. One's about here and one here. So that's what I'm gonna start with. And perhaps I'm gonna have a small little hills over here. So that is my plan. I'm gonna practice my line. And notice I'm holding my pen this way, yeah? No, like for more control, you can hold it like this, right? But I want you to practice different way that you hold your marker or your pen or your brush. Okay, so now we have our peak. And I added a little bit here. Interesting. Right, so my mountain has a little bit of snow left because here in LA, we can actually see the San Gabriel Mountains from my studio anyway, and I still see a little bit of snow on the top. And sometimes I do see them in the couloir as well. So right now I'm just indicating where snow is at. Be purposeful with your line. You don't want to just add something in because, well, I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to put a line in. Every line will add to your drawing. Otherwise, it's not necessary and don't put it in. But if you do already, it's okay. It's part of the painting and accept it. So as the elevation goes down, I don't think there will be any more snow. But right here, I'm going to add a little bit of a hill, maybe in front, because there I want to draw a little mini tree. Maybe here too. in California, or at least in the San Gabriel Mountains, you can see really gigantic cactuses growing from the mountainside. I'm not sure from where you are, can you see those features? But think about, last time you were in the mountains, what kind of trees that you see and kind of where do you see them cropping up, in the mountains. And now I'm going to start kind of color in my mountains. You can do different techniques. You can do dots. Takes a long time, but if you're really patient, it's very effective. It's very beautiful as well. You can also just do line. You can do a combination of both as well. The dotting technique is very useful if your mountain is in springtime and you see, dotted flower field, the foot of the mountains, leading up to the top. When I say dot, they don't always have to be close to one another. They can be spaced very far apart. And it can be more like a tiny bit, like a tiny line instead of a round dots. Yeah. You can also have jagged line, like what I'm doing here. And how it's created is I'm keeping my arm very still. And when I'm doing these jagged line, I'm moving my wrist, but I'm keeping my finger very still. And I'm dragging my wrist across the table. I love using dots to kind of a way to give my mind the freedom to create the image before I commit to drawing a line. Does it work? Because if it's a dot, right, it can be anything, but once you connect all the dots together, you really commit to that shape. If you want to indicate tree, a great way to do it is hold your brush between your two fingers like this. It's very flat. I'm not holding it like this, I'm holding it very flat, like this. And then I really just dotting it and layering it on top of one another. Or my stroke. Check in with your breathing. See if you are holding your breath while you're drawing. Try not to. Try to only draw on your exhale. So if you're noticing, I'm putting a lot of dots and tree lines in the lower elevation of my mountains. Because in the spring, I can see already the flowers are coming in, at the foot of the mountains. At the top, however, in the more alpine weather, winter is still there. So I'm kind of leaving that a bit more bare and have a lot more activities going on at the bottom of the mountains. All right. So now before we continue, let's just take a moment and look at the entire picture. Is it balanced? just focus on our mountains right now. Now, I am not there with you, so I cannot make this judgment for you. So you're going to have to decide, where do you want to put, a little bit of tree that's clear, for you, for the eyes to see from a distance, right? You don't have to put it in, right? But put it in if you want to. And where do you think you can add the little tree bushes in that will balance out the entire mountains and the entire painting? Okay. Since there's snow at the top, I'm not gonna put any trees there, but on the lower level, sure. Okay. All right. So I'm happy with my mountains. I think it doesn't need anything else. You might feel differently about yours. Okay. So remember that we can always add on, to things. So for now, in the purpose of time, we're going to add the flowers. Okay. So the flower, again, is very simple. I usually do a 2 strokes, a little bit more like leaves to me, because I don't want to focus too much on the details. Of course, you can make some flower by add more, dot it more in between the 2 petals that you just drew. They'll become more flowers instead of leaf-like. And I don't know about you, but I always kind of feel this temptation to, oh, I see a branch here, I'm going to add a petal, leaf or a flower or a bud to every single branch I see. You don't need to, because nature is imperfect. And in that kind of asymmetry, in that imperfection, that's where we find whether like the organic beauty lies in that kind of asymmetry. Okay, so right, I really feel like I want one right here, but I'm going to resist that and add one here instead and leave the rest.
We have one question from our attendees. She would like to know, what shapes are your flowers?
So the way I think about my flowers, right? I'm going to use this as demonstration. So I like to think of my flower as like this, right? So I'm thinking very simple shape. Going out and then like this rounded part. So what I do is basically I'm doing the 2 on the side, and then I dotted it in, but of course this is imagine it's like, of course, 50 times smaller, right? So I'm suggesting a shape and let the mind kind of fill it in. You can do, so I like my flower to be pointing towards a direction, but for you, you can also like, well, I kind of like them straight on, right? So you can also do like an 8-point star shape. And what that would look like. So this is the flower. I'm not sure if you can see it. But these flowers are the petals coming from the center, right? And these are not. Good question. Yeah, it's always helped to be very specific, right? And very purposeful in all of your lines. And now I'm going to add a little bit in this tree. So the last thing I'm going to do when I look at this painting is I do want to add a little bit to my vase. So I'm just going to give it, I'm going to drag a few lines across. And I want to keep them very, very straight. And the reason why I'm doing that is to emphasize the difference in texture and material. Yeah, so this is, I'm thinking ceramic, clay. These are wood. So you can see the lines are kind of broken, they're curvy, but with this, and the key to drawing very straight line is you lock your wrist, your finger, and I am moving my shoulder, okay? So I'm locking everything and I'm moving my shoulder. I even like kind of lean my body in. I'm not even like really moving my shoulder. So that really set my kind of vase apart from, everything else. Okay. So of course, we can add in some cloud over here. Do I want to? Why not? I just did a poetry workshop with this amazing poetry society here in Los Angeles. And the instructor told us at the beginning of the workshop that we should give ourselves permission to write a bad poem today. And I thought that was really wonderful. And I really want you to give yourself that permission in every single thing you do. Like give yourself permission to do a bad poem or make it just a decent dinner, not the best one. We don't always have to be performing at our best all the time. Okay? The one thing that we want to is to be present. So now, because again, these are cloud, right? So I'm barely touching my paper with my brush, actually. And the lines are very clean. Okay. Baby cloud here. All right. So I'm really resisting, like my inclination toward symmetry. Okay, I gotta have a cloud here as well. Gotta have a cloud every single level. The more you can resist that and slow down that process as you notice yourself getting pulled to a particular direction, just take a breath and look down at your painting and see whether or not, oh, does it really add to it? And then stop before you go any further. So I think I already went a little bit too far. Okay, so I'm gonna stop here. And the last thing I do always to signal to myself that this work is done is to sign my name. And it doesn't mean that, oh, I can, like this is finished, I cannot add anything to it. But right now, if someone were to ask me, okay, I'm gonna get graded on this, I was like, okay, I'm fine with that. I'm ready to let it go. Okay. So if you are done, feel free to put down your pen and really look at what you've done. Then appreciate that and see, and I'm not sure if you can tell, but for me, I can tell when is my hand-eye coordination like went a little bit off, right? I'm not sure if you can see, and I do this with every single drawing. It's like right here, I didn't stop right there. So it's just something to tell me that the next time, when I do these, to slow down even more. I cannot go back and fix this painting, but I can look at this painting and really analyze what was happening during the entire process. And I will remember these things and take it to my next one. So for example, the cloud, okay, I really like this one. I don't much care for this one, nor this one. So maybe I only need 2 next time, okay? So I really encourage you to do that work, after this. And of course, notice what you do well as well, okay? If you are done, feel free to share with us some of your feedback. And how do you feel? And are you happy with your drawing? What do you think that you can do better next time? And what you've done really well this time?
Awesome. Thank you everyone for joining us today, and thank you so much to UQ for leading this workshop. If you would like to share your art with us, please tag us on Instagram, and I will leave our Instagram handle in the chat box below. Also, if you would like to look more into UQ's work, I'm also going to be linking her socials down in the chat box too. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm really looking forward to seeing all of your work online. I hope you share it with us. And
I'm
oh, go
sorry.
ahead.
I'm gonna say that I really love to showcase, works from my workshops. So please do tag the museum as well as myself if you want to post on social media, if you're a bit shy, you can also email us as well. So if Caitlin, you would share the email,
Yes, I will also put email
everyone.
in.
Yeah. And my email is also on my website as well. It's just my name, yukinwin@gmail.com. So you can also email me your picture as well. Okay, and we would love to feature your work.
Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you at all of our future events. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.